Can you put an aftermarket stubby bumper on a Jeep Gladiator Mojave? According to some vendors, it cannot be done. Well, good morning, everybody. How are you today? Pretty good here, and that's right. According to some aftermarket vendors, you can't put a stubby bumper on a Jeep Gladiator Mojave. Now, the other day, my buddy Randall was over here. We did a little mod job on his Jeep Gladiator Mojave, and he had mentioned that he would like to put a stubby bumper, or is thinking about putting a stubby bumper on his Gladiator Mojave, but that he had also been told that you couldn't do it. So we got to looking because, you know, I hate to be told that I can't do anything, right? So we got to looking, and let me show you what I found. Okay, we're down here under the front of my Gladiator, and for full disclosure, my Gladiator is a Sport S. So it's a little bit different setup than the Gladiator Mojave. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, of course, on the Mojave, you have the regular standard Jeep bumper, right? With some extra bling and stuff on it. You know, the green, or not green, but orange kind of textured tow hooks. It looks pretty cool. But it is really just a standard Jeep bumper. Now, underneath here, there is a skid plate. It kind of comes up right about in this area or so. Actually, right about back here, right about in this area right here. And housed behind that skid plate, kind of over here on the side, is the Fox shock reservoir for the shocks or the struts, right? It kind of tucks in right back in this area here. Now, I think why some of the aftermarket vendors are saying that you can't put a stubby bumper on is because of this skid plate, and you can't remove it because it protects, obviously, that reservoir, and you don't want to damage that reservoir. But it kind of comes up, like I had mentioned, right in this area, right about here, and then it stops. Now, I will tell you, with a regular stock bumper, that skid plate that comes with the Jeep, you know, that plastic cheapo skid plate, it comes up the same way here, and then it actually attaches to the stock bumper with screws all along the bottom side here. The difference between that and what Randall has on his Jeep Mojave is there's a bracket that sits right here in the, I think these two bolts actually, that comes down, and that skid plate that protects those Fox shocks reservoir, that Fox shocks reservoir rather, is buried behind it. But it connects right up here to this bracket, and then it bolts on from here underneath. It is not attached to the stubby, or in his case, the stock bumper. It's only attached right here to this special bracket, it looks like, that it has. So, in looking at this, while it would be close, the skid plate would come up right about here at an angle right up to about here if I had the same setup on my Jeep. It does not look like that would stop you, rather, from putting an aftermarket stubby bumper on. Because indeed, you're not going to be doing anything with that skid plate. It's going to remain as it is, bolted on to this bracket that's on the side. So, I'm thinking that the reason that the aftermarketers have stated that you cannot put a stubby bumper on is because of that skid plate. I don't think they've done enough investigation, if you will, to realize, and I don't know why they haven't, but to realize that that skid plate that's under there is not going to impact or have anything to do with the aftermarket stubby bumper. I think it'd be just fine. So I don't think it would preclude anybody from going ahead and putting a stubby bumper on the front of the Jeep Mojave. Now, I'm interested. It seemed to me, and I could be wrong, but in looking at Randall's bumper, it looks like it's just a solid bumper, right? It's not the Rubicon style three-piece where you can remove the edges and still have the stubby. And I would think if it were, there'd be no reason that Randall or anybody else would want to go with an aftermarket Stubby. They could merely take the ends off of their existing bumper and have a Stubby, right? I think a Stubby on the front of the Mojave would be awesome. And I'm sure, you know, they probably didn't put it on there because it's supposed to be this big time desert off-road thing, and it's to protect the front end. I know the plate that goes across this area right here on his, you can see how in mine there's a gap here, right? You know, anything can go behind here, right down inside, whatever. On his, this edge comes a little further forward and then has a flange, if you will, that comes up and bolts to the back of his bumper. And I think part of the reasoning, again, is to keep any sand or dust. It is supposed to be a desert runner, right? Keep any of that sand and dust outside of the bumper, probably to protect the fog lights and stuff that are down here. You notice mine is exposed. It's because I don't have a cover to go across there to protect that area. His does have a cover on it. That is something, by the way, that I'd like to investigate myself, just to protect this area. But I don't think there's any other reason why you couldn't put a Stubby bumper on there. And as far as the argument goes for protecting everything behind that bumper, I mean, let's be honest. How many of you Mojave owners out there are out running your truck in the desert? I bet there's very few. Number one, they cost a ton of money. You know, $50,000 truck, you're going to take it out and beat the crap out of it in the desert? I doubt it. How many people live near a desert? I mean, I'd have to drive for hours and hours to get to any place like that. And I would say that most people that have bought the Mojave are probably just mall crawling it, you know, like I do most of the time, at least so far. Anyway, leave a comment. Let me know what you think, particularly if you're a Jeep Mojave owner. I'd be curious to know if you have gone with an aftermarket Stubby, or maybe you've proven this out and indeed it will fit. Leave a comment. Let me know. Also, real quick, if you're interested, check out my other channel. It is Rob Motive, all about my 2020 Toyota Tacoma. Don't forget to click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. And do me a favor, smash that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.